Greg, this is your state. This is your expertise. Talk us through what is happening in this GOP race for governor.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with your introduction, but this could be the most significant political defeat for Donald Trump since he lost the 2020 election. He didn't just endorse David Perdue. He didn't just send an email saying, this is my guy. He's taken extraordinary steps to elect him. He persuaded him to run. He helped clear the field for him. He spent $2.6 million from his PAC on ads. He had held 4 in-person rallies in Georgia since his 2020 defeat, each one of them bashing Brian Kemp. And he's taped a number of ads that, at least until a few weeks ago, were all over the airwaves in Georgia promoting David Perdue. So, he's now having this tele-rally here in Georgia tomorrow, but he can't wash his hands of David Perdue. He's put a lot on the line. So even if he's trying to downplay David Perdue's electoral, what could end up being a rout, Donald Trump has helped him every step of the way.
Yeah, Eugene, and this also comes sort of at the end of a tale of races that we have watched, trying to glean whether or not Trump's endorsement actually is a big factor in these races. You have Trump urging Dr. Oz to just declare victory. Oz waiting for Pennsylvania's final vote count. New Politico reporting reads, quote, ever since the 2020 election, the Republican Party has been transfixed by Trump's baseless claim that the 2020 election was rigged. A falsehood large majorities of Republicans still believe. It's an obsession that has animated primary campaigns across the country. Yet in Pennsylvania, Trump's earliest efforts to graft his 2020 complaints onto ballot counting in a midterm primary is falling flat. MAGA hardliners who've lost primaries in other states in recent weeks have not contested the results. I think this is an interesting dynamic, Eugene, right? Where you have a lack of claims of fraud when it's Republicans running against each other, which I think sort of is good for our democracy, right? That you have less questions about the validity of fair and free elections. But it says something to me about where the party is. What does it say to you?
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. Even Madison Cawthorn in North Carolina has not, talked about how the election has been stolen from him in his primary, as he's been, he was beaten by as an incumbent. And I think that what we're seeing and going to continue to see is that the Republican Party is still pushing and pulling between the big lie and the people who are backing, say, Kemp, right? Former Vice President Mike Pence, Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey, all of these folks who are hoping that they're able to save their party. If you talk to Republicans, that's what they see a lot of these primaries as. One thing that is really interesting about the Georgia primary, and Greg knows this better than anybody, is that President Trump has the inability to see, it seems, how someone can both love him and someone like Governor Kemp, right? And that is what we're seeing, is that you have Republicans in Georgia saying, yeah, of course we would vote for Donald Trump again, but Kemp's our guy, right? That is what we're seeing in these polls. And I will say these Fox News polls have been pretty accurate when it comes to things as we've been watching in these Republican primaries. So that's something to keep an eye on. But as the Republican Party moves forward to the general election, where they've been very nervous about the kinds of people Donald Trump is going to back, people who care and spread the lies about the big lie, spread the big lie, they continue to be worried about that because they know in the general election that may not work to their favor. So they're trying as much as they can, some of these, not really establishment, because the establishment of the party is now the Donald Trump wing of the party, right? That is the establishment of the Republican Party. The fringe is now the establishment. But the rest of them are trying to do what they can to fight that. And Kemp is a perfect example of that. And in Georgia, that fight may very well work out for them.
I appreciate that last point you made, because I feel that even we as journalists, even we as people who talk about this, analyze this all the time, are looking for a new lexicon in which to talk about the Republican Party, what it means to be a mainstream Republican, what it means to be a fringe Republican. And when we talk about endorsements, Alexandra, over the years, Trump has endorsed hundreds of candidates. I want to hear from your research. Does having Trump as an endorser of your campaign help win over voters as it once did? And how do you parse that reality, right? His actual stamp of approval, him actually sending cash, versus the fact that you have a lot of people who may not get his endorsement, but they're still touting the big lie. They're still Trumpy in their own ways.
Yeah, no, that's very true, and that's a great point. And I think a lot of times, the local electorate and other candidates in the race do matter. And in our recent NBC News poll that we conducted earlier this month, we found that about 29% of Americans said that they were more likely to vote for a candidate endorsed by Trump, versus 49% who said that they were less likely to vote for a candidate endorsed by Trump. And obviously, that's the American electorate broadly. And right now, we're just talking about Republican primaries. So it's pretty safe to assume that Republican voters would definitely be more inclined to vote for a Republican endorsed by the former president. But that, landing that endorsement is not a guarantee. We saw even in Pennsylvania, there was not a landslide on the Senate side, and we're still waiting for the results. So in that case, an endorsement, didn't help someone win outright. Similarly, I think Eugene brought up Madison Cawthorn in North Carolina. He went down on Tuesday as well in his primary. In Idaho, Janice McGeachin was running for governor against a decently popular governor of Idaho, Brad Little. So sometimes the local electorate and the other candidates really do play a big part and can, their popularity, like you mentioned with Brian Kemp, can overcome the endorsement of Trump.